It's easy to get stuck thinking about global mission in that sort of old way.
Right.
People going from here to there.
Right, the traditional model.
Exactly. But the reality, especially now in the 21st century, it's way more complex than that, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing this huge shift. It's less going there from here and much more. Well, from everywhere to everywhere. The whole landscape's changed.
And a big part of that change, our sources highlight, is diaspora, migration, basically.
And that's such a broad term, isn't it? It covers so many different situations. You've got migrant workers, obviously, international students.
But also folks who are forced to move, like asylum seekers, refugees.
Right. And then permanent immigrants, even trafficked people, sadly. It's a massive spectrum of movement.
Yeah, the sources we looked at mentioned, I think, 6 patterns, like internal versus international, forced versus free, settler, labor, temporary, permanent.
All those distinctions, yeah. They help map it out.
But the one that really stands out for today's topic, for what's called frontier mission, is asylum seekers and refugees.
Right. Frontier mission, meaning reaching people in places that are, well, often very hard to get to. Closed off sometimes.
So why are asylum seekers and refugees so key here?
Well, think about where they often come from. Many are fleeing regions that have been historically very difficult, maybe even impossible, for traditional mission work to access directly.
Oh, okay. Like political instability or government restriction.
Exactly. Or just geographically remote. So their movement, which obviously comes from incredibly difficult circumstances for them, it paradoxically opens up new avenues for connection, but in the places they arrive.
That really does flip the script, doesn't it? Instead of us trying to figure out how to get there, people from there are now, potentially our neighbors.
Precisely.
And this ties into another huge piece of traditional mission, Bible translation.
Yeah, cornerstone.
The whole focus on unreached and unwritten people groups, communities without the Bible in their own language. And that need is still massive. The source mentioned, 1,919 languages?
And about 179 million people still waiting for scripture in their heart language. It's a staggering number.
It really is.
So yeah, that historical mission was and still is about bridging that gap, making scripture accessible. Vital work.
But what we're exploring today is how these two things, the need for Bible translation and this global reality of diaspora, are intersecting in powerful new ways.
Exactly. That's the core of this deep dive. How is the movement of people creating maybe unexpected opportunities and even new strategies for Bible translation?
Okay, let's zoom in a bit. Europe seems like a key area here. Our source talks about a big jump in diaspora populations heading to Western countries, especially Europe, from the 1960s onwards.
Yeah, a significant trend.
And London is just an incredible example. Almost half the population is of foreign origin now.
It's remarkable.
And over 300 languages spoken just in that one city.
Makes your head spin a bit, doesn't it?
It really does. And it immediately makes you think, okay, some of those language communities right there in London probably don't have the Bible yet.
Exactly. The need for translation isn't just out there anymore. It's potentially right on the doorstep in cities like London.
So Europe, which used to be primarily a sending continent for missionaries,
Right.
has become this kind of hub for Bible translation itself.
Right.
Because people from Africa, Asia, the Middle East are now living there.
Precisely. It's become this unique melting pot where translation work can happen for languages spoken far away, but the speakers are right there.
It's not entirely new, though, is it? The source mentions some earlier translation work in Europe, like post-Soviet Union.
No, that's true. There were projects before and after the Iron Curtain fell, but the scale now and the sheer diversity of languages because of recent migration, that feels different. It's amplified.
Okay, so to make this really concrete, let's look at some examples. The first one you mentioned takes us back quite a way to Korea.
Yeah, this is a fascinating historical case, really shows how diaspora was critical even back then. The source lays out 3 ways the early Korean Bible came about. The first involved printing, initially in Yokohama, Japan, and later in China.
Right.
Now, the source clarifies something important. That complete Korean Bible, printed in Yokohama in 1911, it was probably aimed mainly at the Korean communities already living in China.
So for the diaspora there.
Yeah.
not necessarily for Korea itself initially.
Exactly. And remember, there were other ethnic Bible translations happening in China around that time, too.
Yeah.
So diaspora communities often become the first recipients.
Got it. Okay, what was the second method? You said this one was really interesting.
It really is. This involves two Scottish missionaries, John Ross and John McIntyre. They started their translation work by connecting with Korean merchants in Manchuria.
Merchants, not church leaders or anything.
These were diaspora Koreans traveling back and forth, mostly trading herbal medicines.
Wow, that's such a human connection point, just everyday trade.
Isn't it? Ross was apparently quite the linguist and actively sought out these Korean traders.
Yeah.
He met a man named Lee Eung-chan, who became absolutely crucial early on.
How so?
He helped Ross create Korean language primers, basic learning materials, and got involved in the very first translation steps.
Okay.
Then later, others joined in, like Seo Sang-yoon and Paek Hong-joon. They were key players in translating the New Testament. Ross even published books like The Korean Primer, laying the groundwork.
So all this effort with the diaspora community in Manchuria led to...
And it led to the first Gospels being published in Hangul, the Korean script. Luke and John came out in 1882.
82, wow.
And then the full New Testament in Korean in 1887, all driven by Ross's initiative with these diaspora collaborators.
But just having the books printed in Manchuria isn't the whole story, right? They had to actually get into Korea.
And that's where incredible bravery comes in. That same collaborator, Seo Sang-yoon, the source says he risked his life repeatedly.
Wow.
Smuggling copies across the border. Over 15,000 copies over 3 years. Imagine the danger.
15,000.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable commitment.
And the impact was huge. Apparently, many Koreans became Christians just by reading these smuggled Bibles, before any foreign missionaries had even officially arrived and set up shop.
So the diaspora connection wasn't just about making the translation, it was about delivering it too.
Absolutely. It shows how people movement can enable scripture movement in ways you wouldn't expect.
There's that quote in the source from the missionary Underwood, isn't there? Something about harvesting.
Yes. Instead of sowing seed, we are already harvesting what has been already sown. It speaks volumes. The groundwork was already laid by these diaspora believers and translators.
So the lesson isn't just about dedicated missionaries, it's about how God uses migration, trade, everything.
Exactly. Even seemingly secular things like commerce. And there was a third effort, too. Quickly, Lee Soo-jung translating Mark independently in Japan, which later came to Korea via North American missionaries. So multiple streams.
Okay, powerful stuff. Now let's jump to the present day, the Sur Language Project. It's called Displaced Translation. What does that mean exactly?
Right. Displaced translation basically means the translation work happens outside the homeland in a diaspora setting because things are too difficult or dangerous back home.
Ah, okay. Like hostility towards the work are the workers.
Precisely. The Sur project is a perfect example. It started in 1990, initiated by diaspora Christians from Iran who were living in the UK. They partnered with Wycliffe Bible translators based in Cyprus.
So why the UK?
Well, crucially, London had a significant community of Sur speakers. They could review the translation drafts, give feedback, ensure it sounded natural.
So the diaspora community itself was essential for the quality control, basically.
Absolutely. And the wider Iranian Christian community in the UK provided support too. So when you can't work in the country, the diaspora becomes the center.
The source mentions the project coordinator's journey too, learning related languages in Azerbaijan and Turkey first.
Yeah, quite a preparation. Then starting the actual Surah work in London with a native speaker there, real dedication.
There was this key translator, F, a believer from a Muslim background.
Yes, an amazing story. He had already helped with an audio recording of John's Gospel in Surah back in '94, and then became a main translator for the New Testament.
And it wasn't just London, right? It involved Surah speakers elsewhere.
That's right. Reflecting the scattered nature of diaspora, they collaborated with community members in Oslo and Copenhagen, too.
Wow.
They finished the draft New Testament in 2003, and it finally got published in 2009.
And they didn't just stop at the printed book.
No, they were smart about it. Developed a website, made audio recordings of the Gospels available, trying to maximize accessibility, especially for Surah speakers outside Iran who might struggle to get a physical copy.
Makes sense. Using technology to reach the scattered community.
Exactly. And the coordinator wasn't just managing translation, he was also an exegetical expert ensuring accuracy. But it went beyond that, leading to what the source calls a holistic approach.
Okay, holistic mission. We hear that term a lot. It means looking at the whole person, right? Word and deed together.
Precisely, integrating the message with practical care and social action.
So how did that play out in the Sura project?
Well, the coordinator, being a diaspora person himself, really understood the struggles the Sura community faced in the UK.
Like what kinds of things?
Finding jobs, housing, navigating family issues in a totally new culture, all the practical challenges of resettlement. He got it.
Okay.
So he didn't just stick to the translation desk. He got involved in their lives. The source even mentions him helping paint a language helper's house.
Really?
Yeah. It came from that shared experience, that empathy. It's a fantastic example of holistic mission, showing love through practical help, not just delivering the translated scriptures.
That's such a powerful illustration. It's walking alongside people, isn't it?
Absolutely. And this Sura project also really highlights partnership. It wasn't just one group doing everything.
Right. You need collaboration for something like this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The source details this whole network. For a different Sura dialect, the northern one in Azerbaijan, you had the United Bible Society, the Institute of Bible Translation, the local Azerbaijan Bible Society, SIL, churches in Baku, and an Iranian mission group in the UK all working together.
Wow, that's a lot of players.
It is. And despite challenges, they published the whole Bible in that dialect in 2010, shows what partnership can achieve.
And the UK Sura project, the one focused in London. Similar partnerships there.
Very much so. Sahel was involved, of course. An indigenous Iranian mission organization handled copyright and church connections. You had the mother tongue translators from the Sura community.
The reviewers you mentioned.
Local reviewers, yes. Computer support people, and even help from other diaspora groups like Korean churches in London and a Baptist church in New Malden chipping in.
It really takes a village, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The New Testament publication in 2009 was a result of all that synergy, and they were planning for a whole Bible in 2012. It points to this bigger idea in mission today, kingdom partnership.
Meaning different groups working together for the bigger picture, not just their own organization's goals.
Exactly. Moving beyond institutional silos.
So, pulling back again, what are the big missional takeaways from all this?
Yeah.
From seeing diaspora and Bible translation connect like this?
Well, globally, this whole reality of diaspora has really pushed theologians and missiologists to think differently. You now have concepts like a theology of diaspora and diaspora missiology.
Right.
The Lausanne Congress in Cape Town in 2010 was apparently a key moment in recognizing this as a major new way of thinking about world evangelization.
Okay.
Our source quotes Tereso Casino, basically saying there's a theological basis for seeing mission opportunities within these movements of people. God is at work in it.
Interesting. So specifically related to these displaced project translations happening in diaspora, what are the key implications?
Okay, so first, it's clearly a really effective strategy for reaching people in those hard-to-access closed areas. The Korean example screams that, right? Second, just the sheer scale of migration today creates way more possibilities for ethnic Bible translation within the diaspora itself. The Sura project shows that perfectly.
Okay, makes sense.
Third, this kind of work almost naturally leads to a more holistic approach. You get involved in people's lives, their practical needs, discipleship. It all blends together with the translation task.
Like with the Sura coordinator painting the house.
Exactly. Fourth, it forces, or at least strongly encourages, partnership. You need that collaboration between different Christian groups to make it work.
Right. And fifth, is there another one?
Yeah, the source also stresses the ongoing need for ethnic and even cluster Bible translations within these multi-ethnic societies where diaspora groups live.
What do you mean by cluster translations?
Well, think about translations tailored not just to a language, but maybe a specific subculture or interest group within that diaspora. The examples given were pretty cool. A street kid's Bible in Amsterdam,
Wow.
a bike Bible for cyclists, even a metal Bible for heavy metal fans.
A metal Bible?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Apparently so. It shows this drive to be incredibly relevant, meeting people right where they are culturally, even within diverse diaspora settings.
That really underlines the need for adaptability in mission today, doesn't it? Being culturally sharp.
Absolutely.
So if we wrap this all up, what's the main thing you want people to take away from this deep dive?
I think the biggest insight is that this massive global migration we're living through, it's not just a news headline or a sociological trend. It's fundamentally reshaping opportunities for Christian mission and specifically for the vital work of Bible translation.
It presents challenges for sure, but also these incredible, maybe unforeseen opportunities.
Exactly. People moving creates these new spaces, these new encounters where the gospel can be shared and where scripture can finally become available in someone's heart language, perhaps in a context nobody expected.
And approaches like displaced translation or focusing on ethnic translation within diaspora communities are proving to be really smart, strategic ways to engage with that reality.
They really are. It forces a rethink of the old models. Mission isn't just over there anymore. It's increasingly happening right here in our diverse cities and neighborhoods.
So here's something to maybe leave you, our listeners, thinking about. If this movement of people is changing how religious texts like the Bible are translated and shared, how might it also be reshaping the way all kinds of knowledge and understanding move across cultures?
That's a great question.
What other unexpected collaborations or innovations in science, art, business, whatever, might be bubbling up because the world's populations and perspectives are constantly being reshuffled like this? Something to chew on.